Hello, welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 149. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isley
Yo.
and Messiah.
Hello.
And we had the Xbox update. You know, last week there was a bunch of rumors going around, and then Phil Spencer said, stay tuned. We'll talk about it next week. And they had like a podcast, which I thought was weird. Like, it's a business podcast. This is such an odd thing. And it's like, it's because it was really kind of like a nothing burger. Like, they didn't do anything except say like, yeah, there are 4 games. They didn't say what the games are, despite all the rumors out there. And it's just like, yeah, there's 4 games that we think, you know, they've met the criteria. They've been out for a year. And yet it's like how we had talked about, it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's what PlayStation kind of does with PC games. And it's just like, yeah, there's 4 games. They'll announce them when they announce them. That's kind of the strategy. We're kind of looking at it, you know, game by game for really like live service. So probably like the biggest rumors are Grounded and Sea of Thieves. And it's like, that makes sense, which I was trying to find because I could have swore they talked about this like a year ago. Like this idea that, hey, it would make sense to bring live service games to other platforms later to extend the life cycle of that game and increase the player base. Because on your own platform, over time, the player base will dwindle down to the people who are really into it, depending on how frequently you're updating the game. But if you're bringing a whole other platform, then that player base, you know, it'll grow. And it's only beneficial to players. But I just didn't have the time or will really to do that. But I was like, I feel like they've said this before. Either someone has said this, that, you know, this would make sense. But yeah, it was just annoying because I'm like, okay, so you don't confirm, because everybody was worried about, because they did say, oh, so what about Starfield or Indiana Jones? And they're like, oh, those aren't one of the 4. Okay, so that squashed that rumor. It doesn't mean they're not anything in the future, but that rumor, because one of the rumors of Starfield was that when their expansion, if I go to I want to say Call of the Void, but that sounds really wrong, comes out, by that time it'll be like a year that it's been out, which would meet that year criteria, yada yada, but it's not a live service game, so we'll see. And then they said, you know, hey, apparently they kind of hinted at new hardware in December, and that they're working on the next generation of Xbox, which is going to be like the biggest leap ever, which is just corporate talk, because that's typically always the case, right? Yeah, did any of you watch the Xbox podcast or listen to it?
Nope.
I read the
forgot
recaps.
It was a thing.
Yeah. It was just, yeah, it was like, okay, it was all corporate. Like, I felt like Tina Meany, who was the host of the episode, former IGN alum, was asking some pretty good questions. But again, they kind of give that corporate answer. And so it's like, okay, this is like, it's just, this could have been an email kind of situation. Like, you could have just said a tweet. Like, it didn't need to be a podcast. It was so nothing. But
I read a lot of the follow-up from it, and this sounds like conspiracy theory-ish, but like I came away from it basically not really believing what they were saying, because I think they had a nothing burger because there are more games planned that they didn't want to talk about for fear of essentially like losing sales on those games. Like, I kind of suspect that Starfield is still going to come down the pipeline and is still planned. They just don't want to talk about it yet. Therefore, it was a nothing burger on the podcast where they just chose to talk about nothing.
right. Yeah, we talked about this last week when you weren't here. But like the idea of how easy it would be for people like everybody in Bethesda and everybody under Activision to make or port their games to PlayStation because they've already done it before. So like it can't be that hard to be like, hey, we have this game, it runs on Xbox. Let's take Starfield and put it on PlayStation like a year down the line, because the dev time is super short and we'll make money. So it's like I could totally see that happening, but yeah, they probably wouldn't want to say it because right now it's like, if this is, maybe they're doing a kind of a wait and see approach, like they have plans for it. Like I'm sure internally, like, hey, how, you know, what would the dev time be to port this to PlayStation? And then it's like, hey, let's see how these 4 games do, which the other 2 are Hi-Fi Rush and what was the 4th one that's rumored? Oh man, it's Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and I don't remember what the 4th was. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I'm sure they'll probably see like, let's see how these perform, and even though they're smaller titles, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's like I can't imagine, like, you know, you've acquired Activision. You know how much Call of Duty sells on that platform. You can see it. You acquired Bethesda back in the day. You saw how much probably things like Deathloop sold on PlayStation and other Bethesda titles. So it's like you got to be like, okay, that's a huge chunk that we can wait and then release it later. But yeah,
Well,
no
and
announces a Game Pass or anything either.
I'm sure that there is some level of like Microsoft probably has a large, I mean, not probably, they have some larger business plan that is not privy to the public in regards to like software sales, things like that. And they know which direction they want to take the company in. When people have theorized for a long time that Microsoft doesn't really care about consoles so much as getting their software on everything. So I'm sure there is some long term plan that they really don't care about exclusivity on a lot of this stuff if it means they can get their software on more platforms. And they probably just don't want to market that because saying, oh, hey, the Xbox console isn't important. You could just buy everything on PlayStation doesn't sound great, even though it probably means significantly more sales and money for Microsoft.
Yeah, and I feel like they really kind of pushed against that rumor too by talking about new hardware in December, and then also that they're working on the next gen Xbox. Like I feel like to reassure their player base, like we're still going to make consoles, yada yada. Which I'm curious too. Like, I wonder what that must be like versus like a Sega situation. Like Sega publishes on everything, but it's like, okay, I don't know what they're working on or what their target is or what they direction they want to go with hardware, which nowadays it's kind of very similar. It's not as unique as maybe it was back in the day when we were doing those jumps from PS1 to 2 and 2 to 3, where it's like, hey, let's come up with some new architecture designs, yada yada. But you have to wait for those dev kits. Whereas if Sony doing those early discussions, they're talking to their ICE team and they're trying to say like, hey, what would make the workflow better? Xbox doing the same thing, talking to them like, hey, what would make it better? Do we need more RAM? Yada yada, this and that. How could we improve? Use that as like your blueprint, and then as you get closer to launch, you start giving it to those third parties. So I'm wondering if it's like, if we can control the hardware, we also control what the games can be on that hardware ahead of time, and we kind of know, and we can get it launching up and running. Versus like if they were, let's say there was no next gen Xbox, it's like, okay, well then you have to establish that relationship with Sony immediately and communicate with your player base that yeah, we're not going to have one now, or a future one rather, and then make sure you get those dev kits and Sony's talking to you about what the designs are, so you can have those games up and running, ready for launch or within that launch window.
I mean, to be clear, like I think there will always be a Microsoft console. I just think that it will never be their focus, and that can't market well. Like saying that, hey, we don't we will sell the console still, don't worry, but we do not give a shit about it. I don't think sells well. So I just think there's a lot of they can't say what they're really thinking because it just sounds bad.
Yeah, or like hey, we have plans that maybe are in early stages, and it's like getting your feet in the water to kind of see like, could we do this in 10, 15 years kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, especially if the sales came out saying PS5 is outselling Xbox 2-1, which isn't too crazy. It's like, okay, 2-1. Obviously it's like,
It's actually better than I thought for Xbox.
yeah, and it's like if you get if they sell 100 million, then you sold 50 million. It's like that's not bad. You obviously want to do much better, especially versus last gen. But it's like I could see if you do a couple generations where you're consistently behind, quote unquote, the market leader for on the platform, then I could see like, okay, well, what if we you look at it from like a business perspective, like if we reinvested that money, R&D and whatnot into just going third party, what could we save and how would that improve the our software products? But again, that requires a lot of communication within your partnership and relationships with Sony has to change. Like I don't know how quickly that happened with Sega when Sega got out of the console business. Like was it just quick, hey, we're doing just software, let us make on your platforms, versus nowadays where it's like, okay, how fast could they make that transition? I'm really curious, but I mean, we'll see. It's like, again, it's just small steps right now, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, people point out, back in the day when they talked about, no Xbox games coming to PC, day and date. And then it's like now Xbox games release on PC day and date. So it's like these changes that have been happening over time. We could see maybe something more down in the future. But yeah, I mean, I just wish they would have just cleared the air on what the titles were so the speculation can go away. That would have been nice. Like, I don't know why that's like, how is that? I mean, unless they like, I know he says like, wow, you know, developers like to reveal, and I get that, you know, but that's more like a, you know, someone leaks it ahead of you know, a big showcase or something. Like, are you going to wait until June around that E3 time to do your, because they're going to have a June showcase? Like, are you going to wait till then to show it, or are you going to like get it up and running, get a trailer, and give it to PlayStation for like a state of play? Like, is that really? I mean, you released your game. Like, it's not like the announcement of another platform is necessarily, to me, and maybe it's different for the developers, but I feel like the announcement of the game was the big thing, and then you released it, you're good. But if you're just released on another platform, that can't be like a huge like, everybody at the studio's like, oh, I'm super excited to announce we're coming to PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the reveal. It's just it's another platform. So I don't know. It just seemed weird when he said that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that one. We'll see what happens there. I mean, time will tell. Anyways, moving on. I did see some other news that happened. So there's rumors that a Mandalorian game is being worked at Respawn, which makes total sense. They've already done 2 Jedi games, and all the verticality they do in Apex Legends makes total sense for a Mandalorian game. So I feel like, okay, if they do it, that'd be cool. But obviously, again, this is just a rumor. But then there was announced this week that Sony picked up Forever Skies as a console exclusive. Forever Skies came out on PC previously, but it will now be coming out to PlayStation later this year. I'm really looking forward to this. This was a game I remember seeing, but I totally forgot about it. It's essentially Subnautica in the air. It's a Bioshock Infinite of Subnautica. And I'm like, gimme. I want to play it, man. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. It's I'm trying to see. It just says at some point 2024. So there's no like release date. But yeah, because I know they're working on let's see. This is a report from IGN. First person post-apocalyptic survival game Forever Skies launched on Steam in early access in June. And when it leaves early access later this year, it'll have consoles. So it's in early access right now. And I guess when it goes to 1.0, that's when it'll launch on PS5 at the same time. So yeah, I'm excited because I know I saw they just released a trailer a couple months ago for like some new updates for stuff they're doing to it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because if it's like just an update, I feel like the game must already have pretty much everything there it needs, and there's adding like extra story stuff. I know that, and some other changes. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Like, you build your airship to stay above the pollution. There's like some sort of virus that went around as well. You're trying to investigate that. So I'm like, very similar to Subnautica.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm like, when I watch it too, I'm like the audio voice. I'm like, this is the Subnautica voice, like the AI. And I'm like, but yeah, when I watch the trailer for the new content, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this. It'll be fun. Like, because I felt like, aside from building your base, like once you get the submarine in that game, it's like the Cyclops. It's like, okay, yeah, you can put little bins and stuff in it. And you can get torpedoes, but I felt like that was kind of like it. But this, it's like, oh, it seems like good.
That's kind of the case of like a lot of those survival games that like once you get the main hook, you're pretty safe.
Yeah, but that's why I like the Sea Truck in Below Zero, because I like the idea of everything's additive. You're just adding a new module that does something. You're adding a new module that does something. So it's like you keep building on it, which is what they're doing in Forever Skies. Like, you have your ship, and you just keep building on your ship to improve it. And I love that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not just, okay, you get this one mode of transportation. Okay, you get another. Okay, you get the other one, but it's kind of like in its finished state. Like, you can't really modify the Cyclops outside of like little tiny mods like radar, ping, all that jazz, whatever. So it's like, this is, building on the structure that your main structure you're using, I think is really cool. So I like that kind of stuff. But yeah, looking forward to that. Hopefully it releases around a time when there's like not much else out. But I don't know if it's multiplayer either. I'll have to look into that.
It says just single player on Steam. So.
On Steam, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I wonder if I should jump into early access and try it on Steam. And then I was like, no. Because I did that with, well, not that Sons of the Forest is launched yet. And I know 1.0 for that came out or is out or coming out this month. I haven't double check to see if they downloaded. But I didn't play too much of the early access. I didn't want to spoil myself, but I played a nice little chunk to be like, okay, I'm waiting for the 1.0. But don't know if I want to do that for Forever Skies. But yeah, I guess if it's just single player, then it won't necessarily really matter. But yeah, Izzy, you weren't here, so you didn't get to talk about it, but there was some hubbub with, Subnautica 2 and the Crafted saying, oh, it's going to be a live service game, focus on multiplayer. And then Unknown Worlds came out and was like, no. It's just multiplayer's an option, co-op's an option. And it's not live service. We're just going to be doing updates to it once it releases, in early access, essentially, just like we did for the other games. So, but the co-op aspect of it, are you interested in playing that co-op?
It depends. Horror game, not well. Okay, Subnautica is not super horror game, but I struggle with survival games in co-op because I feel like when you play a survival game in co-op, it just makes everything not scary. Like it is so hard to be worried about resource management when you have someone else to help you.
Yeah, I guess it could be like play it through once single player and then just do that co-op session after the fact. Because I totally get what you mean. Like you kind of want that. Like there is an aspect. Like I am looking forward to playing like Sons of the Forest. I'm curious how that will play if we were to maybe just try it a bit co-op. Because again, there wasn't much story in there when I came out in early access when I first was playing it, and I didn't explore like everything. And they added more cave systems and whatnot. But I'd be curious to see like what is that like co-op. Maybe not finish it, but I guess if we can get it into a spot where, and this all kind of depends on if you get a new PC, but if our save games can be also separate as well, and it's not just like, oh, it's my main save, you join it, versus like if that world could be in the same save state for you, then it'd be like, okay, let's build and co-op. Okay, now go do your own thing, or I'm curious how that would be because yeah, I would love to try some of Sons of the Forest, maybe not the whole thing, but just that'd be curious to see. Like, let's see how scary it is. I mean, I'm sure it's like, oh shit, we're being attacked. There's still going to be that panic. Anybody been watching Helldivers? But I think it could be. But yeah, there definitely is a thing of like that sense of discovery is a little more fun when it's solo.
Yeah, and I think that it would be fun to like play that co-op, but like you said, I think I would want to have a solo save first, and then the co-op experience would be like playing up to a certain point, which then you can kind of argue, well, you're just repeating what you just played, so you already know where all the safe things are. I don't know. Horror games are struggles with that. I don't think there are many horror games I've enjoyed that have been co-op. I like the Dead Space co-op parts, but those were also just like limited to certain things, and they played around with like the hallucinations and everything. So I liked that experience, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I want to play those games co-op. I just don't know if the co-op experience for me is going to be like the first experience, or if I'm going to play through it first a little bit, or I don't know how I'm going to do that yet.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those games where it's like maybe you don't finish it, but you play it solo just to kind of get your bearings, get used to some of the mechanical changes that they did, the UI changes and whatnot. Just exploring around, kind of mess around a bit, and then it's like, okay, now that I kind of know like how to optimize my start, and then go into co-op, like, okay, I'll collect these, you collect these resources, and then we'll explore a cave system together or something like that. Yeah, because otherwise, there's not too many horror like the Resident Evil Revelations games, like the co-op. Those Resident Evil games are really good, but yeah, there's not too many outside of those.
And it's like, I don't know, one of the things I struggle with is like when you play a co-op in a horror game and one person knows more, whether they intentionally do it or not, they will always lead you towards like, you need to go this way, you need to do this thing. And it's really hard to fight that urge of leading someone in the proper direction, even if you're intentionally trying to avoid things. You miss out on like gut reactions and things like that.
Did when we played the Forest co-op, was that your first time playing, or did you play the Forest before that?
No, I'd played the Forest before that.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Yeah, I think maybe you didn't remember where some of the things were, like the katana and whatnot. But
yeah, I have garbage memory, so
yeah,
it was. But like even that one, we played together, and I think we started the Forest, and I hadn't played it before, and then while we were doing that, I created a like simultaneous save state thing, just kind of for exactly that reason of wanting to get the experience. So I think I started my own save while we were playing the forest, pretty much for that reason. And the forest is a good example of like, you know where everything is. So either you have to like play in such a fashion that you're like letting me take the lead on everything, or it, or you lead me around. If it's a new game, I guess you don't really have that, but I don't know. It's always just a strange experience. There aren't a lot of great co-op horror games in my opinion.
Yeah, we should definitely try Sons of the Forest. If you end up getting like a new PC, we should try it, and just for a bit, just kind of I've done some running around and stuff like that, but just be like, there's so much of that island I haven't explored, so it could just like again follow you. Like I don't know, hey, let's go to this thing first because then they'll give us this item. They've kind of also changed where things are in like some spots, so it'd be like, okay, maybe an item, even if I did recall where it was, it might not be there. Just to try, because that'd be kind of fun. Because it's definitely like, I think the cave exploration, which I've hardly done any of, would be really fun together. And then again, you can just, if it's your game, maybe it's like just drop in, drop out, try it that way. We can always give it a shot, see how it goes.
Yeah. They also just need better save states. I don't know if they changed it from the original one, but I remember the original one, I could only, I think, play on yours.
Yeah, eventually we made it to where when we did it the second time, we're like, okay, well, you'd host it, and then I'll just join you. That way won't be an issue, but yeah, we can work it out there. Yeah, I'm curious if you can do something like if we were on the same, we're on the same platform, and it's like, oh, just say we're playing a PC, like, okay, take your save, copy it, Google Drive it to me, and I'll just load it up, and it'd be like, okay, there's your save state, and then be like, if I want to run around, it's like, there you go. I don't know.
God, that's so extra.
I know.
That's
it is
such like things like that being required are just kind of like, yeah, this is why it annoys me sometimes.
Yep. All right, and then the big thing this week was the DICE Awards. Did either of you watch the DICE Awards in full, or did you just read the winners?
I didn't watch it live. I just read some recaps, and then I watched like a few clips and stuff.
Okay, what about you, Wesley?
Same. I never watch this show like shit live. It's always on at weird times, and I can never catch it.
It was on at 8 p.m.
Weird times, I said. It's my bedtime.
Yep. Yeah, I watched it live when it was happening. It was from like 8 to 10. But yeah, we'll just kind of run through the winners. I believe these are in order. I don't know if these are in order of the actual award. No, it doesn't look like it. But I'm trying to go. IGN has this list here. Yeah, these don't look like they're. Anyways, maybe they are. Who knows? They don't seem like it. But yeah, lots of awards they gave out. I thought. So Greg Miller and Stella Chung were co-hosting again. They've done it. I think Greg's done it for like 7 years. He's like the longest host of the DICE Awards. And he had some really good zingers. Like I feel like one of the biggest problems with the jokes at the DICE Awards is it's all developers in the audience. And it's like, and some of the jokes are very much, it's like a roast, right? You're kind of roasting the industry. Maybe you're roasting the studio. It's like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? You roast the news outlets. But I feel like at least at the White House Correspondents' Dinners, when they had those, I don't know if they've had them since a while. But anyways.
I think it's been a minute.
Yeah. Like at least like people pretty much laughed at all this stuff. Like I feel like there's so many times where people like don't laugh because they don't want to like, like he told some jokes that were really good, and like some did really hit. Like they had one joke about Starfield being nominated, yada yada, was clapping, and he's like, I really love that game, and he's like, unfortunately Bethesda couldn't make it. They got lost because we didn't give them a map. Like that was a really good joke, and people like laughed at it because there's no map in Starfield. And don't worry about that. We'll give it to them later. And then they had a joke like, "Oh, if you win an award, there's not going to be And a physical award is just gonna be a box with a download code in it. And then,
my
everything's going
God.
digital. They had some other jokes in there. Is like they had one joke. It was about like 3 things you never want to hear, or 2 things you never want to hear. Like I forget what it was, something about game comments from gamers or something like that. And then Embracer Group is here or something like that. And it's like, and then it just cuts to the dude, like the head of Embracer Group in the audience, but he just was dead in his face. It was just so funny. But they had some really funny jokes in there. But like, again, when no one laughs either because they're nervous to laugh. But luckily there were some big laughs. But anyways, outside of that, we'll just go ahead and get to the winners. So outstanding achievement in animation went to Spider-Man 2. Outstanding achievement in art direction went to Alan Wake 2. Outstanding achievement in character. This one, I did not see this coming, was Miles Morales. The nominations for this were Saga Anderson from Alan Wake 2, Astarion and Karlach from Baldur's Gate 3, Jala from Thirsty Suitors, and then Miles Morales from Spider-Man 2, and Miles Morales won. I'm curious if this was like, again, it must be like ranked voting, and I'm curious, like, did Karlach and Astarion, being from the same game, split the vote, and then the number 2 for the voters was like, we vote Astarion number 1, and then Miles number 2. You get ranked choice voting. And it's like, because of that split, did that give more points to Miles? Like, I'm really curious. I'm not that he was a bad performance. Like, he's a great performance. It's just, I didn't see it coming.
I would have thought it would have been someone from Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. Which is why I'm really curious. Like, did the 2, because there was an award show. I forget, like, Astarion, Neil Newbon won at the Game Awards. But there was another award show before that where Clive from FF16 won. Ben Starr. He won the award. And that was like, I forget which one it was, but that was like, it wasn't like a fan voted category. It was another, I think maybe press or something. I forget what, but he won that one. So it's like, okay, that one caught me off guard. I was like, okay, so it's not just going to be a sweep, because then we were going to have the BAFTAs are in a bit, the game BAFTAs. So I'm curious how that's going to go. But yeah, so Miles won. That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that, but good for him. Congrats. Outstanding achievement in original music went to Spider-Man 2. Original music composition. Outstanding achievement in audio design went to Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was a big winner that night.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding achievement in story went to Baldur's Gate 3, which I like. Again, I talked about this at previous words. I like the story of Baldur's Gate 3, but for me, it's the writing's really good and the characters are great, and the story's like, the story's good. It's a solid 7, and then you have great performances, great writing for everybody else that kind of elevates that story. But I don't think that story is necessarily like your goal and what you're doing is better. It's like the writing's better than some games and the characters are better, but I don't think that means the story, the overarching story, is better. So I was surprised that one. I would have thought of the games that were nominated, it would have been Alan Wake 2. Man, Hi-Fi Rush was in there too. Like, or sorry, not Hi-Fi. That was a different. The story nominations were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Dave the Diver, Thirsty Suitors, and Venba. And I was like, Dave the Diver?
Dave the Diver has a crazy story.
I know. And I watched Northern Lion play it back when it was before it released, and everybody went insane with it. Like, he was an early player of it, but it was just like, that just kind of surprised me. Like, Thirsty Suitors I get, and Venba I get. It was just like, okay. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 won. And again, I wonder if that maybe was did more people play BG3 than they did Alan Wake 2? All the developers, so I'm curious. Because
didn't Alan Wake win the narrative at Game Awards? Or was it something else?
I forget what it won at the Game Awards. It did win somewhere, because I remember Sam Lake being up there. But because that was after the presentation, after the dance sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a surprising victory. But yeah, outstanding technical achievement, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Action Game of the Year went to Marvel Spider-Man 2. Adventure Game of the Year went to Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Family Game of the Year went to Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Good luck playing that with 4 people, though. Anyways, Fighting Game of the Year went to Street Fighter 6. Racing Game went to Forza Motorsport. Role-Playing Game of the Year went to Baldur's Gate. Sports Game, MLB The Show 23. Strategy Sim Game of the Year went to Dune Spice Wars, which I don't hear anybody talk about.
I thought that was a strategy game.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, but I think when it came out, it was like a 7. I'm like, I just don't have. I know 7's good. I'm not saying 7's bad. I played plenty of games that were 7. I played games that were reviewed as 6. We've talked about this before. If you're into the genre, a 7 could be an 8 or higher for you if you love the genre. But I was like, I just don't have time to learn new RTS mechanics, even though I like RTS games. But the other games they had, like Against the Storm, Cobalt Core, The Last Spell, and War Tales, like I wasn't familiar with any of those.
I feel like there's a lot more strategy games that came out that aren't any of those.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's like a genre I like, but I guess really I just like StarCraft 2. But like it's that thing. It's like I've tried playing other games, like Command and Conquer, Red Alert 2, like back in the day. It's like it's good, but it's very basic, and it's rock paper scissors. And I feel like it's hard to really kind of nail that down, especially compared to StarCraft, because it's so good. I don't know. I'm always concerned, like, okay, this will be fun, but I played StarCraft Online. So I not only just play the campaign, but I played it online competitively, which is fun. But I don't know if I would do that with any other RTS game. And I guess the thing too is like when I only had a Mac, there weren't many other RTS games that would come out on it besides StarCraft. And you don't put RTS games on console really. So I didn't really
saw that to my StarCraft 2 on N64.
Yeah, I know. I played StarCraft 64 plenty of times. Good God.
What an experience. Yeah, just what an experience. Jesus Christ.
Just the immediate like, oh man.
Mm-hmm.
The dark times.
Like you thought it was good when you played it as a kid, but then you're like, oh my God, what is this? It's like people having trouble playing the Tomb Raider Remaster Trilogy because they have no idea how to control things. But yeah, so Dune Spice Wars 1. Immersive Reality Technical Achievement went to Horizon Call of the Mountain. But Immersive Reality Game of the Year went to Asgard's Wrath 2, which I kind of expected because that game's like got like 9s and higher for every. Plus, it's like a 40-hour RPG in VR, which is supposed to be like really good. Outstanding achievement for independent game went to Cocoon. Mobile game went to What the Car. I love the What the Car winner because was it What the Car? Who was? Oh man, and none of you watched it. So there was one of the devs went up there and like. If we won, the team told me to be awkward, and like so they did like a really good like generally awkward kind of acceptance speech. I thought it was really funny. I think that was What the Car might have been someone else, but online game of the year was Diablo 4. Omega Strikers was then I was like, man, I forgot about Omega Strikers. Like that was like NL played that for a hot minute, and then it just kind of fell off.
I feel like online game of the year has to be Diablo 4 because otherwise it will just go to Final Fantasy every single year we've talked about this before about how the best online game every year is pretty much going to consistently be like Fortnite or Final Fantasy because they're so freaking well established as online games that it just isn't realistic for other things to really win. Well, shouldn't have been Diablo 4 though.
None of the nominees were repeats of like, long-standing franchises outside of
right.
If you can,
but I mean that's my point. Like they have to do that intentionally.
Yeah, I guess like, hey, well, because that's typically ongoing game. Like and I don't think DICE does an ongoing game. Like that's like the Game Awards. So I wonder if online game of the year for DICE is the criteria is strictly it had to be strict just this year, or if you had a major expansion, and there was no major expansion for FF in 2023, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so I think that's why. Because the other and I feel like if the finals had come out earlier, I think the finals would have taken it because I've heard nothing but great things about that game. I almost wanted to download on PC the other day, but when I was gonna do it, not the other day, it was like in December, I think. When I was gonna do it, at the time, like there was just a ton of hackers on PC, and the devs are of course on holiday, so they couldn't really take care of it. It's like, I don't know if I want to play against a bunch of hackers. But the finals was really, but yeah, because the nominees were Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Diablo 4, Omega Strikers, Street Fighter 6, and the finals. But yeah. Outstanding achievement in game design went to Baldur's Gate 3. Achievement in game direction went to Baldur's Gate 3. Game of the year went to Baldur's Gate 3. So Baldur's Gate 3 and Spider-Man took home a lot of awards. It was really funny because
it seemed like a big like double sweep, pretty much.
Yeah,
I was just skimming the winners.
It was funny because like the guy who went up for all the Baldur's Gate was like the new Nintendo guy. Like that one year that I guess it was the Game Awards, where like Nintendo won a bunch, and there's like that one dude went up like a bunch of times. Like it was so funny because then the guy from Larian's just like, hey, it's me again. Just like it was like just him like trying to think of like, okay, what else could I say? Then, but he'd always make sure to, whatever the category was, to talk about the team who contributed to that, like be it, direction or what have you. So
that's a good way to do it, though, to talk about the team for each category.
I was gonna say that's the proper way to do multiple acceptance speeches, and like that's the reason that even if a game is sweeping, like if they're doing good acceptance speeches and actually acknowledging the teams that worked on that particular part of the game, that's fine. Let them go up there and sweep it and give acknowledgement to those teams.
Yeah, like story, you talk about the people behind the writing of the story and the actors. The role playing is kind of more of a generalized thing. You talk about the entire team there, but yeah, it's like if it's like a technical team achievement award, you like talk about the team behind that. The writing, you talk about the writers. Direction, you talk about the director, yada yada, this and that. But yeah, but it was good to see. And yeah, that was it for the DICE Awards. It was weird, like, so before DICE, of course, was the Xbox podcast, and they talked about, Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass, yada yada yada. Then when Diablo 4 won Online Game of the Year, like they slipped that in, like, we look forward to more players coming when Diablo 4 comes to Game Pass in a couple months. It's like because that's not what this award show is about, promotion. It was really weird to hear that. Like I was like, this is so out of place. Like, why would you throw that
Best online game definitely doesn't already need more players because it's running out.
But yeah, but yeah, it's a good show. Some funny jokes in there. Yeah, it was weird. Like I was trying to look at chat a bit, but I was like, this really isn't the place to look at chat because this is an award show. There's not going to be any reveals, and I don't think some of these people in chat don't understand that. So, but yeah, it was weird when they're like, it's good to see that some of the games that won are the ones that should have won or whatever. I'm like, it was just the way it was phrased. It was really weird. I was like, okay, whatever. This dude's, it's just people who were mad about Spider-Man at the Game Awards not winning enough. It's like, they're two totally different voting systems. You got critics and then you got devs. Like devs understand tech stuff more than the critics do. So otherwise pretty light week for news. I know Helldivers is like taking off. They've had issues with like server capacity. I know it's like it's been like the biggest game on Steam. It like broke records. And then people are like, yo, come fight the robots, please. We need to take out the robots. But they offered like double XP and extra rewards and this weekend because they're having so many problems. But that's got to be tough when like you're at capacity because your game's so popular. But then it's like, it's cool. It's like, we're so popular. But it's like the downside of, well, if you can't fix your capacity issues quick enough, you're going to drop pretty hard.
Yeah.
Well, and also then if you don't sustain those numbers, you've increased your capacity and it's only been temporary, and then you spent all that money for no reason.
Well, at least typically it's like, I think when you exceed capacity, you're probably just renting servers from Google and whatnot to be like, hey, we need expansion. So it's like, okay, you just do it maybe for a month, and as they lower, it's like, okay, we'll let these ones go. Like, who knows if I doubt these smaller places have like internal servers. They're probably, again, just renting servers from all these other companies. But yeah, it is cool to see it because I remember playing the first Helldivers and I liked it, but I played for a bit, and that was pretty big back in the day. Not nearly as big as this, but it was a pretty popular title. But yeah, it's like it's that simple change in perspective, it seems like, is just really what brought people in, which was funny because that was kind of like a point of concern when Helldivers 2 first got announced. Like, oh, it's not isometric anymore. It's kind of over the shoulder. Like, will that change it for like the worst, essentially? But it's like clearly not. Like, it brought, like, we talk about this all the time. Like, if you change a perspective or doing a game, reskinning a game into one you like in a new genre is like, can help bring you in. Like, oh, I don't like battle royale. It's like, oh, but then a game series you like maybe does one somehow, or a different genre of game, but it's in that style. Like, there you go. So it's cool to see. But it is really funny to see people like, yo, come fight the robots, man, please. But I guess those guys are pretty tough. But yeah, there's some really funny bits. I've been watching Northern Lion play it a bunch with his the NLSS crew, some of them. And there's just some really fun bits. It's like, it's one of those games like, man, I would like to play it if I had the people to play it with. But my concern is like, I wouldn't want it to. I'm always worried about, the players that play things that have all the time, and then they play something to death and they move on super quick. Once the next thing comes out, which is fine. If you want to do that, you can do that. But I'm curious what the legs are going to be for this game, even though it sounds like they have a pretty good roadmap. Like, will it fall off pretty quick? Is the hype going to die down? Is it just the next new hotness? Like, it was Lethal Company and now it's this, it was Pal World and then it's this, and then it's just like, is it just the next, even though they're all different games, it's like,
Pal World dropped off after, I know it's still popular, but the popularity in terms of like streaming seems like it dropped off in like a week. So
sure, yeah, and it's not like the thing.
See if Hell World is there in a week or so.
Hell World, yeah.
Or sorry, Helldivers. I combined Helldivers and Pal
Helldivers and Hell World. But they both got guns. But yeah, it is fun to watch, and I think it would be kind of cool if they had some, because like when you're up in your ship, you can see the planet and you can see all these little lights and stuff. It's like all the people who are actually down there, like calling in their stratagems and whatnot. It'd be cool if there was some sort of support you could do, from your ship to help other players. Like maybe there's, I haven't dug into it, but like I think about, there was I think Battlefield 4 had this commander mode, which is like someone could, from like an iPad and an app, like connect to a server as a commander, and then as a team gets enough points, they could call in like airstrikes and other things to support a team. And I always thought it was kind of cool. It's like you could sort of passively play, but not have to actually be playing. Like maybe you can't play, but you're doing something else. You're like, you know what, I'll be a commander and just call in airstrikes and whatnot and help people out. It'd be cool if it was like just go in there and I could, even though if like, you don't, your friends aren't online, you're waiting, like if you could help people up, on the planet while you're up in the ship, that'd be kind of a nice functionality, like a EVE Online and Dust 514 kind of situation. All right, well, I guess we can go ahead and jump into what we've been playing. Go ahead and start with Isley. What have I know it sounds like you haven't been playing much. You've just been staring in the void.
Staring into the void. No, I've been playing Rogue Legacy 2. I never played it when it first came out, and I've been dipping my toes into it recently again. And I've tried getting into it a few times, and it's the first game, remade, not literally remade, but it is all of the same story beats and like same mechanics as the first game, which I loved. But man, I am having a hard time just like focusing and getting into Rogue Legacy 2, and I can't pinpoint anything that's drastically different about it. So it's one of these situations where I'm like, is it just because, I already played the first one and this one doesn't feel different enough? Have I changed in the time since Rogue Legacy 1 came out? But I loved the first one, and the second one, by all accounts, is basically the same, but I am really struggling with like playing through it. But that is, that's what I'm trying to play right now.
How's like, are you having fun?
I mean, I'm having fun. I'm still playing it. I just, I don't know. I'm struggling to like, it's like when you're playing a big game, we'll say Spider-Man or something, and it takes you a while. We'll say Baldur's Gate, and it's a really good game, and it takes you a while to get started. Usually the reason I like roguelikes is because, or roguelites is because I don't have that jump in issue, because the whole concept of the game is that you should be able to just pick it up and go.
Yeah.
And each run is kind of like its own thing, and that's like the point of those games for me.
You're
But
always learning.
yeah, for Rogue Legacy 2, I don't know, something is not clicking, and I'm hoping if I play more I'll like identify what it is. I'm enjoying it still. It just is sometimes forced enjoyment, or it's, I'm playing it for much shorter periods of time than I thought I would. Like I'll play for like 30 minutes instead of like an hour or two, and I'll be fine with like 30 minutes of playtime. So I don't know. I've been playing that. I've been watching a bunch of Baldur's Gate 3 and debating if I need to get back into my Dirge run, and I assume that once I start that in earnest, it will take off. There's so much new content in that game that I want to play through, because I've seen people like posting things that I just don't understand and talking about the new game modes. So that's pretty much it. I beat Super Mario RPG, the remake, which, I've played the original and loved it, and it's just a phenomenal remake. So I highly recommend it if you like Mario games or RPGs or Final Fantasy. If you like any of those, I highly recommend Super Mario RPG Remake.
Yeah, I don't hear much about people playing it once it came out. Like I know like a bunch of podcasts are like, oh, they played it because they liked it, but I haven't heard too much since then.
I mean, it's the first game. Like,
Yeah,
it is a remake, and it's a faithful remake with nicer graphics. They didn't really change any story beats, but they did change. They added a few new secrets, and they cleaned up a few areas that were really frustrating due to camera angles or just the design in the original one. Um, the Easter eggs in the original one are new Easter eggs in this one that will make people who played the original laugh. It's just like, it's a really solid game. I think I enjoy it because it's really dark for a Mario game. Like, they took all of the Mario characters and they put them into this Final Fantasy VII-esque world, and have the Mario characters go through all of the like dramatic emotional beats that would typically be found in a Final Fantasy, except it's Mario and Luigi. So it's just kind of hilarious to see characters that Nintendo like protects so deeply being put into these just really like dramatic situations. And replaying it now, I just kind of am constantly wondering, like, how the hell did this game ever get made? Like, who pushed this game through and got it made, because it makes no sense that Nintendo allowed it.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have either of you ever played it?
I played the original, and I really wanted to play the remake because it really seems like the kind of remake that I want and is done properly. Like, it's a faithful recreation, and it just got some new updates and stuff like that. But I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I was never, when the original came out, I mean, I was never really, I didn't have the console at the time, so yeah, I just never played it.
Well, it's good. It's worth playing. If you need a
right here.
Dark Mario.
Dark Mario.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's true. It really is just Dark Mario.
Yeah. What about you, Zai? I know we talked about before, but since you finished Baldur's Gate, I haven't seen you playing much on Discord. You've just been taking it easy.
Yeah, so last weekend we finished Baldur's Gate, I think like Sunday night, maybe like Monday afternoon. I don't remember exactly. So we finished that, and I debated whether I wanted to play like another run through with different characters and stuff like that, but I was like, I feel like because we played so much of it together, I would probably get like a third of the way through it and be like, I'm done playing this. So I didn't want to start one and then just either trudge through it or end up not finishing it again. So I was playing Honkai Star Rail because they came out with the 2.0 update with Penacony and everything like that. So I was playing through that a little bit. And then Tuesday, it's been a fucking week. We had pet emergencies on Tuesday. So just have been exhausted from that. So I've been coming home and I sit on the couch and I give the cat her medicine, and then I watch Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth VODs pretty much nonstop. That's what I did all day yesterday. I was like, okay, well, I'm starting to feel a little better. She's starting to feel a little bit better. Maybe I'll sit at my desk and do some like catch up on 14 because I didn't really do much of the last patch. I just finished the story and didn't really do anything else. And then I made a nest on my couch and watched Infinite Wealth all day. So I was like, this is whatever. This is fine. So that's just what I've been doing.
Michael's like, where did all these twigs come from?
No,
What the hell is
it's
going
just
on,
like
man?
pillows and plushies and blankets and my snuggie and just...
What is this chaos nest?
Yeah, it's just like, are you okay? And then I would go in the bedroom and take a nap, and then I came back out on the couch and fell asleep again. He was just like, do you need to go to the doctor? No, I just need to sleep, I guess.
I love the idea, like, you go to work and your coworkers are like, so what'd you do the weekend? You're like, I was just nesting the whole time. Like, oh my God, you're prego? You've been getting ready for the baby and cleaning and organizing stuff? Like, no. I was literally in a nest on my couch. I was nesting in a blanket.
Yeah.
You're like,
No.
oh.
No. I was literally in a nest. I made a nest of blankets and I sat in it and I did not move.
Yeah. They're like, I see. Okay.
Which would not be surprising to them, considering I'm always
Who you
they
are
always
as a
ask me,
human.
"Oh, how are you?" I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, the fact that I just slept for 12 hours one day and didn't move from my couch would not be surprising in the least. So,
yeah, I'm still playing Factorio and then playing Death Stranding Director's Cut. Those two games. I did pick up Tomb Raider Remastered 1 through 3. Played a little bit of that. Jumped straight into 2 because like I've played 1. Well, I was gonna say fairly recently, but like when the Tomb Raider Anniversary remake came out when PS3 was out, like I played that. I'm like, okay, so I know exactly what to get. Like I'll play it at some point because of the 3 is the one I've played the least, but 2 was like when I first was playing them back in the day, in the 90s. It was like, okay, I like 2 the best. So I was like, I'll jump in and replay 2. And man, I was like, okay, I'll play 10 controls, but I want to try this modern control to see what they did. And I was having a hell of a time trying to figure out, like, how do I jump and reach for the ledge? Because I'm like, in 10 controls, it was intuitive. I knew what I had to do. I hit square for jump. I hit X to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, X is jump in modern controls. How the fuck do I grab that ledge? And it was like, I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And it was like, I'm like, okay. Let me look at the control scheme and what they call X in 10 controls. And then I'll look for the button that has the same name in the modern controls. No, that didn't work.
That seems like a reasonable approach, though.
Yeah, so it was just like, and I figured out, like, I had to jump, and then I had to, like, hit R2 or some bullshit like that. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, it's so, like, it threw me off. And then because you have, like, you can move the camera all freely in modern controls with the right stick, the problem you have there is, like, I don't think, and I'll have to go back and, fair warning, I usually hate when people talk out their ass when they don't know all the details or they don't look at it. But, like, in tank controls, when an enemy comes by, like, it locks on. The camera's like, you're locked on, Laura's locked on, you jump, you do whatever, you're always facing the target.
Mm-hmm.
There's no lock on with the modern controls. And I'm like, maybe there is if I go, like, it didn't say R3 in the control scheme is to lock on. Because, like, in the Tomb Raider Anniversary, they created a lock on. Like, a one that you could actually do and you could cycle through enemies. Because they added that whole slow-mo mechanic and yada yada. But I was like, okay, well, I get into open a door on the Great Wall and a bunch of little bugs come out. I'm like, shooting these things is a pain in the ass with modern controls because I can't stay locked on because I can move the camera where I want. And so it was like fighting them was such a pain. I was like, can I not lock on to enemies? So I got to, like, go back and see if they just don't say it or whatnot. But I was like, I just got to play on tank controls, man. Yes.
Why would they change it with modern controls? Why would they change it to, like, take away the auto aim thing? Like, you should be able to just move the camera around and still have her automatically shooting what you're supposed to be shooting at.
Yeah, it was so weird. And maybe I'll give it a try. Maybe there is some nuance to it because it was like, I'm getting attacked by 3 bugs. They're doing damage. And I'm like, I'm in a tight space. I run on the wall. I'm like, I'm just trying to get in. Like, I'm panicking because nothing's working intuitively like it should. And I'm just like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, I look forward to playing some more of that. I still really wish 4 was there. I think if 4 wasn't called Last Revelation, it was actually called 4. Maybe they would have put it in there. And then Chronicles could have been called Chronicles. But yeah, I really want just 4, man. I love 4 a lot. But yeah, I'll go and play this at some point. But yeah, I was just like tried him out a bit, but I haven't gone back to him yet. But yeah, playing Death Stranding, pretty far into it. Well, not super far into it. Made some good progress. It's one of those games like I should have on my replay, and I'm kind of doing it a bit, but like I really should just like beeline all the story missions or story deliveries, because then it's like you unlock this thing, you unlock this thing, you unlock this thing. Like every time you do something major, I'm like, and that's really what I should have been doing. It's like, oh man, I wish I had this thing because like I know it's coming, and it's like, oh, maybe I do a little bit of a side delivery, but I'm not really doing. I am building the roads a lot. That's a lot of fun. It's so fun, just like when you reconnect a zone to the chiral network and you just look out and you see like all the structures that other players have built. Sometimes it's a little silly because like I was in one spot and it was like there was like 3 ramps and I was like, or bridges, and I was like, these are like, you chose those 3 to load in, like they're in really weird spots. Or like I see someone, again, I talked about it before, but like people putting down like ladders and whatnot in places that like you could just go around a little bit. I didn't need a ladder here, but and luckily, like if something's out of place and you don't want it there, you can just get rid of it. I don't know if there's like a resource allocation for how many player objects load into a specific region on the chiral network. So I don't know if like, oh, there's too much stuff here. If I remove them all and then I load in later, do I get a different population, or am I grouped with a certain amount of people? Now you can do like strand contracts with other players. I haven't done that yet because I'm kind of like, I'm not really interacting with it that much, but it is a different experience playing it now versus when I played it at launch. Because at launch there wasn't nearly as many, other player objects in the world. Like they're all
cooler with all of these player objects, or
oh yeah, it's cool because like you can see like the porter level of the person who put it down and the like levels. So you can see like, oh, this object has like a ton of likes. So clearly a bunch of people have used it. The player who put it down has been playing. They probably got the 100% all the achievements, and they're just going around building stuff to help other players. Like it's really cool. And I love too, and I don't remember if this was a feature in the base game, but in this one, you could see the footprints of other players who have been walked by an area recently. And so you could see like, and it shows their name and like their rank and what have you. So you can be like, oh, so other people, I'm walking this crazy path. I can see their path, and you can give them a thumbs up like, yo, we're taking the same route or whatever. And so that's really cool. It's just a fun experience. I'm really looking forward to playing Death Stranding 2 because I just love that helping rebuild the road, and then logging back in and seeing like all the likes you get from people who have used something you contributed to or random objects you put down. It's so fun. The signs get a little out of hand. I think there's an option to even disable the signs because I was like, okay, guys, ease up with the signs, especially when you're leaving a distro center. There's like just a bunch of signs.
There's just
like,
a ton of them everywhere. You walk through all of them.
Yeah, it's like, calm down. I don't need this right now. I know BB's happy and I got a stamina boost. So I'm just here to make a delivery. I don't need all these signs. But yeah, that is fun because it's rewarding too. It's like when you go to a new region that's not connected to the network, it's like you getting there is on you. That's the gameplay. You figure out how to get there. The best route, you're either dodging BTs or mules. You get there, you connect them. Then when you connect them, it's like, boop, now it populates with some other player stuff. So I was like, the way back out and even going back to do other future deliveries to that same location are now easier because of either you learning a better route or other players have put down stuff you can use. And it's such a fun feature. And I'm like, man, there's just nothing like it. And it's just so unique. And I'm finally in the part in the story where I have to go to Mountain Knot City, which is like around the bend and over into like this really cool forest region. And then eventually up to the snowy mountains, which is like one of my favorite parts of that game. So I look forward to Isley's Open Up Candy. So I look forward
I
to getting to
wish.
that point. Yeah. And I unlocked the zip line last night, so I'm like, oh, I can't wait to put this on. I don't know if the zip line requires materials. Like the bridge, you can't just use your PCC to make it. You have to actually contribute mats to it. But I think the zip line doesn't require that. So I might just like make a bunch of level 2 PCCs and just print zip lines all over the damn place and be like, yo, let's go. But yeah, it's so
Zoom, zoom,
fun.
zoom.
That's right. I'd love, man, when they get to the mountaintop, I was putting up zip lines like to get to the highest point for deliveries in the mountain and then down the other side. And like, I should just log into base Death Stranding on PS5 and see like how many likes I get from people using the that system that I built. Because yeah, zip lines are so fun. And there's also some new Director's Cut added some new objects too. Like there's these little boost ramps you can use. So it's like instead of building a bridge, you can build this little boost ramp that if you take a bike over it, it gives you a nice speed boost to go over like a gap or like a ravine. Pretty significant. Not so much with the trucks, which I found out last night when I almost didn't make the jump. I was like, no, go. But it was fun. And then they added like a little like what they call like a chiral bridge, like a tiny little bridge, but it doesn't work when the timefall is in the area. So when it's raining, you can't use the little chiral bridges that they build. But I haven't gotten that yet. So I don't, and typically they don't let you use stuff that you don't have because it's like once you unlock that object, now you can see other players' objects. So it's weird that I can see these little chiral bridges, but maybe I can. I just don't know. Maybe I didn't pay attention to a tutorial or something. But yeah, it's fun. That game is just. I put like a screenshot. I just did like the World War I segment, and it's just so fun. I like, man, I would love like a war. I mean, I talked about this when Death Stranding came out too, but like a Decima engine World War I game, even World War II and the other eras you get. Like, oh, it'd be so good because like I love seeing those old tanks just roll by. They got all the weird like organs on them and whatnot, and the soldiers are fading in, fading out, and looking like smoke. It's just so cool looking. I love that. That whole segment is so awesome, and you can replay them now too, which is great. I'm like, oh, good, because I'm like, I would love to go back and get some like better photos in that zone, but like it's just so much fun. But yeah, I really like Death Stranding. Fun, like I said, it's such a cool experience replaying it now with more people who have already played it, who have helped build structures for other players. It's just a lot of fun. And then I'm trying to see if I took any notes. Talk about that. Oh, it's funny. And then my kid was like, he's all, Mama, you got to play a game where I'm going to show you these characters from Rainbow Friends, which is
Play
like
it, or I'm going to show you. So he threatened.
No. He's like, you play a game where he shows her characters from this game called Rainbow Friends, and she has to guess their names. I'm like the worst. Like, there's no way he'd ever guess names of any characters. Like, you could show me a show, like, hey, guess the characters from Modern Family. Like, I couldn't tell you. Like, if I haven't seen it, I don't know. So it's just like he's doing the same, like showing on the iPad, like, who's this character? It's like makes guessing it's wrong. I'm like, all right, you made her do that. We're gonna do it too. So I pull up the character in portraits of like every character from Death Stranding. I'm like, what's this character's name? And then it's like, nope, that's Sam. Oh, what's this one? Nope, that's Deadman. Nope, that's Die Hardman. Nope, that's Hartman. Nope, and he's like, you're not gonna get this. It was just,
you like it.
Yeah, it was just really funny. Like, can I guess this one? But yeah, fun times. Yeah, Factorio. Man, I want to play Factorio co-op. I feel like Factorio would be somewhat. I know Isley has trepidation, but I'm like, I don't know. I saw you.
As long as I could, I'll be your project manager.
Well,
that's how we'll play. I will be the project manager, and you will build things according to how I tell you to.
The one thing about that game was like, they're like with a lot of games that are either colony sims or any kind of sim like this, is like eventually the meta becomes like, here is the best design you could do for something. There's usually not much iteration once it gets established. Like the spawns in Oni are very much the same designs. And you're like, you can make your own if you want, but it's like the best of the best is like you do this. And in Factorio, we talked before, like you can save blueprints, and then there's people who are like, oh, here's the best product ratio design for this thing, and you just download a book of blueprints into your game. It's like you just put it down and just build exactly how it is. And I did make my own blueprint off a design for like, oh, if you have 48 furnaces, it's like the most you could do for this amount of drills, mining whatever ore, and blah blah, and you make your main bus. And I kind of like, okay, I took that design, I have it there, but I don't want to do that for everything in that game, because I feel like there is some of the fun is like, okay, now I need to build this. All right, I need these resources, build this things. Like the spaghetti is some of the fun. Like, yeah, as I'd rather learn like over time, like a better design for this. And maybe eventually, like I talked before, like I didn't want to learn everything from the start because I don't have that kind of time. So there were some things I looked up like, okay, to make green circuits, the best design is this. So I kind of took that one. But yeah, some of the fun is like, design the railways the way I want, other things the way like ammo production, grenade production, kind of build it the way I want. Like I know I need, this many things, but I'm not looking up like just copy pasting blueprints. I'm like, that's a little much. I'm like, and then what's the fun in that? Especially when you get to the point where you can have robots build the stuff, which I'm at, but I don't do because I kind of like building all the stuff. I don't want robots doing it for me. But I'm sure down the line, of course, once I get there, I'll be like, okay, rush the robots, get them to build things for me. But I feel like that would be kind of fun because you can have someone like easily can do the base stuff. I can go around clearing out a bunch of biters, removing the shroud from the map and checking out stuff like, hey, there's a big patch of ore over here, yada yada. Because it is fun. Just sometimes I'll go around. All I'll do is just clear out biters and be like, there you go. They're all gone. Don't worry about pollution for a while. But that game is it's funny. Like when I was doing World Gen for the one I'm currently on, when I started a while ago, I like look at it, I'm like, man, some of these maps are generating like a ton of water. I feel like it's such a waste because the water doesn't drain when you pump it for like your steam engines. It's an infinite resource. It's just like a hindrance, but they do allow you to make landfill. And I was like, you know what? I guess that could be a good thing. Like you have a map with a bunch of water, and then you just eventually build a base in the middle of that giant lake and just like build a small little path for your power lines and maybe your railroad tracks and your car, and then just have a big old base that enemies can only get to from one direction. Like, I guess that would be something you could do, but yeah, that is a fun game. I did have a bit where I was like, I had one section of my base getting attacked by biters. It's like, where the fuck are you coming from? Because like I couldn't figure out. Like you typically look at your map and you say, okay, if my pollution is hitting this nest, clearly they must be coming from that direction. But like I wasn't hitting any nests really, and they were attacking some weird spots. I'm like, I just threw down a couple turrets, but I'm like, I just couldn't for the life of me figure out like, where are you coming from? Are you just a free roaming group of bugs? Like, I don't understand. So I was like, I just went around and wiped out a bunch of bases of nests of bugs. I'm like, get out of here, man. You guys are pissing me off. I can't figure out what's happening, but
I know I'm polluting your planet, but fuck off.
Yeah, I got to get to rockets, man. I'm taking my time. But don't worry. I'll be out of here soon. Unless I do a mega base. But yeah, it is one of those games, like, definitely is like the fun of it initially should just be like learning to not make the spaghetti and then redesign from there. But yeah, I feel like that could be a fun co-op game, because then at least you get stuff done quicker. You could put down the blueprints. Design your own things and copy it. I'll build it how you want it. But,
hell yeah!
But it would be fun. But yeah, yeah. Then outside of that, I haven't been playing a whole lot else. I do have some games. I know something on my wish list is on. There's some games are on sale right now. I think it's like I don't think they're calling it like the President's Day sale, but like there are some game sales on like the PlayStation Store, and other things as well. And I know Steam has some sales too. And I was trying to see. I have one in my cart. What's the game that was on sale? I know, like, not on sale anymore. So never mind. What's in my cart? Whatever's in my cart was. I'll get rid of it. I don't need that there anymore. But yeah, there is like some sales going on. I was like, oh, I could pick up this. Like, I know Cyberpunk, the Phantom Liberty was on sale for a bit. It might still be on sale on PlayStation. Maybe it's not. I think we might be just past that date. But it's like at some point I got to pick that up and play it, that DLC, because I definitely want to give it a shot. And then I know Nightingale comes out soon in early access, but I don't know how quickly I'll jump into that. That's just 2 days away.
Man, I'm so excited about Nightingale, but I really hope they announce it for PS5.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'll probably come at some point. But yeah, I'm curious how long it'll stay in. Yeah, I know a bunch of like gameplay previews that come out from gaming outlets. Are you still waiting to pick up Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, Zaya?
I was gonna pick it up on Tuesday, and then we spent $400 on the cat, so I probably am not going to end up picking it up. I might just wait until Final Fantasy VII comes out. But I do still really want to play it. I also feel kind of bad because I have games that I've bought on sale that I meant to play, and it just keeps loading into my backlog. So I should probably play something that I bought last year with the intention of playing it before I buy anything else new. But
yeah, I'm like looking at my Steam wish list. Would I just throw games on there? It's like I still want to play Talos Principle 2. I just haven't bought it yet. I'm interested in Farthest Frontier. Don't know when I'll get that. Viewfinder, I still want to play. There's a game called Last Train Home, which I really want to play on PC. Yeah, then there's Nightingale. So I'm like, a lot of stuff I want to play, but I should just play. I do like puzzle games a lot, so I should just play Talos Principle 2 and get that. But I don't know. We'll see. And we still got to play Escape Room.
Yeah,
gotta give that a go. Play that tonight.
Is that on Game Pass, or is it just on Steam?
I don't know. There's Escape Academy. I don't know if that's on there, but and there's the Experiment Escape Room, but I don't know if Escape Room. Maybe is it called Escape Simulator? No, it's called Escape Simulator. Sorry, I was typing up Escape Room. Escape Simulator. Doesn't say if it's on PC Game Pass.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it looks like it's only on Steam.
I mean, that's fine. I just was thinking about it because there's still stuff on Game Pass that I wanted to play too. And it's like, well, if that's on Game Pass, I might as well re-up that for a couple months and play that stuff that I wanted to play on there. But
yeah, that's just $15 there. But yeah, that'd be fun to play. All right, well, because go ahead and call it there. We'll see. Like I said, unfortunately, that Xbox thing really didn't give us much info. I was really kind of thought, talking last week, like, oh, that'll be like the big thing we talk about next week. It's like,
and then it was just
really.
Nothing, just a bunch of speculative crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine. It just, speculative crap is the accurate way to put it.
It was so nothing. Like you could have, like you let it wait so long. I thought like, oh, they said next week. I thought, okay, maybe it'll be Monday. It's like you had to wait all last week because the rumors came out on Monday. You had to wait all last week from Phil Spencer saying that, and then they didn't do it until Thursday. I was like, dude, if you like that wait made it seem like it was going to be so much bigger because you really had to like get stuff together, get messaging just right. Like if it's just like, yeah, there's 4 games, you're not going to say what they are. Like just say that, like tweet it. Like it doesn't need to be a big to do anyway. But yeah, it was just so weird.
It was a little stupid, for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, all right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So thank you for all tuning in. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Zaya, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Later.